Welcome to this explainer. Grab your lab coats because today we're playing lab detective to crack the exact mechanics behind pendulum oscillations. If you're gearing up for your next physics experiment and want flawlessly precise data, you're in the exact right spot. We're going to break down the science, the setup, and the specific measurements you need to succeed. Let's get right into it.
But before we even touch the lab equipment, let's look at a really provocative little mystery. Picture two pendulum strings. If you strap a heavy metal bob to one, is it going to swing faster than if you attached a really light wooden bob to the other? I mean, it kind of feels intuitive to say the heavier one will move differently, right? Well, hold on to your hypothesis, because the answer we're going to uncover today is honestly one of the neatest illusions in physics.
To solve this mystery and run a perfect experiment, here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the anatomy of a pendulum, define one complete oscillation, go over calculating the time period, uncover the secret of mass, and wrap up with the power of length.
Starting off with Section 1, Anatomy of a Pendulum, understanding the basics.
Okay, so before anything actually moves, your pendulum mass, which we officially call the bob, is just hanging there completely still from a fixed support pointing straight down at the ground. This resting state is what we call the mean position, or equilibrium. When you're setting up an experiment, making sure that bob is perfectly steady in this mean position is literally step one.
Now, once you pull that bob back and let it go, two things kick in. Gravity pulls it down toward the center, but its own inertia carries it right on through to the other side. This creates a regular, back-and-forth motion that repeats in perfectly equal intervals of time. We call this periodic motion. Whether we're talking about a pendulum or, the Earth revolving around the sun, periodic motion is all about that repeating rhythm. To properly analyze this motion at your lab bench, there are a few core properties you need to track. We'll get into oscillation, time period, and length in just a second, but I really want to highlight amplitude and frequency right now. Amplitude is simply your maximum angle of displacement, basically just how far back you pull the bob before you drop it. Frequency, on the flip side, measures the actual number of oscillations per second, and we record that in a unit called hertz. Pinning down these specific terms is an absolute must for a solid lab report.
Moving to Section 2. Defining one complete oscillation, the three-step cycle.
Now this right here clears up an incredibly common lab mistake. An oscillation? It isn't just a single forward swing, it's actually a strict three-step cycle. Step 1, you release it from your starting side. Step 2, it swings all the way across the mean position to the far opposite side. And Step 3, it travels all the way back to your hand at the start, out and back. That entire round trip is one single oscillation. If you're only counting the outward swing, your lab data is going to be completely off.
On to Section 3, Calculating the time period, the lab procedure.
The time period is basically just the duration it takes for the bob to complete one of those full three-step round trips we just mapped out. But here's the practical challenge you're going to face. How on earth do you accurately measure something that happens in just a tiny fraction of a second?
Well, unless you've got superhero reflexes, your thumb just isn't fast enough to accurately time a single oscillation with a stopwatch. To get around that human error, our lab procedure uses a pretty clever workaround. Step 1, get your stopwatch ready. Step 2, time 10 to 15 continuous swings altogether. And Step 3, divide that total time by the number of swings to find your exact average.
Honestly, aiming for exactly 15 continuous swings is a brilliant strategy. By doing it this way, that tiny fraction of a second delay from you clicking the stopwatch at the start and the end gets spread out and divided over 15 whole cycles. It mathematically shrinks your reaction time error down to almost zero. And that is exactly how you get a highly precise professional-grade reading for your time period.
Which brings us to Section 4, The Secret of Mass, the Great Illusion. A pendulum swing is a textbook example of simple harmonic motion, or SHM. And SHM holds a really wild secret. The motion literally never depends on the mass of the object swinging. I know it sounds totally counterintuitive, right? In our everyday lives, heavier things just feel like they should fall or swing differently. But the pure physics of SHM dictate that mass is completely irrelevant to the pendulum's time period.
So, finally solving that mystery from the beginning of our explainer. If you test a heavy metal bob against a really light wooden bob in your lab, the time period is going to remain exactly the same. As long as you drop them from the exact same angle and they're hanging on the same length of string, they're going to swing in perfect synchronization. No way around it, the heavy metal does absolutely nothing to make it swing faster. Mass is just a distraction.
Let's wrap things up with Section 5, the power of length. What actually matters?
Okay, so if mass doesn't matter, what's actually controlling the speed? Well, the behavior of the pendulum depends entirely on length. A greater string length gives you a greater time period, meaning the pendulum takes way longer to complete its cycle, resulting in a slower swing. Conversely, a shorter length means a shorter time period. It completes its round trip much more rapidly, swinging back and forth really quick, and naturally, it'll stop sooner. So when you need to change your time period in a lab setting, the string length is literally the only dial you need to turn.
Just a quick heads up for your actual physical experiments, though. Idealized math problems assume a pendulum swings forever, but out here in the real world, we have real-world variables. Actual pendulums experience friction up at the pivot point, plus air drag pushing against the bob as it swings. These forces constantly bleed energy out of the system, so your pendulum absolutely won't swing eternally. It will eventually come to a complete, dead stop right back at the mean position.
As we finish up this explainer, I want to leave you with a pretty cool real-world application to chew on. Knowing what we know now, that mass is basically a physics illusion and string length is the absolute master of the time period, how do you think clockmakers leverage this exact physics to keep perfectly accurate time in a massive grandfather clock? Next time you hear a pendulum clock ticking away with that steady rhythm, you'll know exactly the lab detective work going on inside. Thanks so much for joining me today and have an absolute blast with your experiments.